Thank you, Gordon, for coming over here. And before we proceed, that I would like to tell my viewers that who you are and why did you decide to become a writer?
Well, thank you, Saurabh. Thank you for inviting me. I've always wanted to be a writer, actually. It was a childhood ambition of mine, but it took being made redundant just after my 40th birthday to give me the prompt to write a book, because what happened just after my 40th birthday was I was made redundant, and at that point I took the big decision. Seemed like a very brave and bold decision to me at the time, to invest my redundancy check in starting my own business.
Okay.
And that turned out to be the best career decision I'd ever taken.
What they say is things happen for the good reason.
Yes. I mean, that bad news, effectively, of being made redundant from a company that I loved and from a job that I loved, turned out in a bizarre way to lead to the best career experience of my life, because I started my own business and discovered that working for a big multinational company in the travel industry wasn't my dream job after all. Working for myself was. And I loved self-employment, and I really thrived. And that prompted me a few years later to write a book about it.
Okay, so I had this book, and it's written by Gordan, and this book has really done very well in the market, has a really good response. So I guess overcoming redundancy, you wrote this book because you was one of them in the back time.
I think that's why I was motivated to write a book on the subject. It actually, my original idea, if you like, many years ago, was to become a writer of fiction.
Okay.
That was the childhood dream.
Yeah.
But the way in which writing a book came about was me writing a non-fiction book with tips on bouncing back from losing your job. So overcoming redundancy, 52 inspiring ideas to help you bounce back from losing your job. It's a kind of practical how-to book with full of tips for people who find themselves in that situation.
So when you were become redundant, how did you understand these ideas, these 52? How much time it took you to understand all these tips to write a book?
Well, I should probably emphasize, Saurabh, it's not a book just about my story, because my story turns out to be not so unique. When I say to you that losing my job and starting again at the age of 41, being prompted into changing my job by redundancy, turned out to be a really good thing for me. I've now found out, and I found out whilst researching this book, that it's quite a common experience. In fact, the majority of people who are made redundant look back on it subsequently as the best thing that ever happened to them. We carried out, I was running a market research company. That was my business when I started up my own business. And that market research company ran the largest survey there has ever been, to my knowledge anyway, in the UK, of people's redundancy experiences. We interviewed 1,000 people across the country who'd been made redundant about what happened to them. What options did they consider? Who did they talk to? How long did it take them to find a new job? What worked, what didn't work? And ultimately, what advice they would have for others who found themselves in that situation. And all of that, those experiences are fed into this book, together with experiences of people who've been with a major outplacement consultancy, Penna, who helped us in the production of this book.
So it's very good to know and fascinating to me that it's not just your story. You have actually researched it well in the market and understood actually how people feel about it, and then you decided to help them.
Yes.
Oh, that's really great. So I think there was a time when you I never had this experience, but I guess when a company decided to lose you, there is a certain period of time where you will feel, am I good enough or not? Or like your self confidence will be at the low level. At that time, what was your reaction to it? Are you encouraged? Okay, now I will use this opportunity to move forward in my life, or you also feel like what to do now?
Yes, I mean, I do know what you're referring to the real emotional impact of redundancy. And again, one of the things we learned on our survey was just that the amount of people who feel bitter, they feel angry, they feel frustrated, they feel annoyed, they feel upset by redundancy.
I think it's very common, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And and because people invest in their jobs and their careers, a lot of their self-worth, a lot of their self-belief comes from that job.
Yes.
They identify with that job.
Exactly.
And some people are really react very emotionally. I mean, one of the case studies in this book is a lady called Jane who talked about the emotional baggage of being made redundant, and basically 5 years of bitterness eating away at her, because it's easy for you to think post redundancy, it shouldn't have been me. I'm better than some of the people who stayed.
Exactly.
You know, there was I've given some of my best years to this company, and this is how they repay me. All of those kind of angry feelings, annoyed, bitter feelings, are very common to experience, but the quicker you can get over them, the better. Because the reality is, the only personally damaged is you. It holds you back from getting on with your life.
Oh, I love the way you think. But I think lots of people cannot understand this, and that's why they struggle with it more. And this is where your book can help them to achieve. So, 52 inspiring ideas to help you bounce back from losing your job. I think in our small interview here, we do not have time to go through 52 ideas, but I would request if you can tell our viewers or our people who are watching this interview some of the best tips, or where should they start if it happens to them. We wish it never happened to them, but if it happens for some reason, Brexit is coming, or some people decided to change the career, or some people decide, okay, I am not for this job, I will change my complete, like the way I work, I want to become self-employed. What are the best, some few tips you want to give, where they start first of all, and then where they go further?
Okay, so I mean, just the first tip, I think, comes from the 3 pieces of advice that unanimously people on our survey said that they would pass on to others who find themselves in this situation. And they're all about mental attitude. Stay positive, believe in yourself, and never give up. That is all key, because a lot of people don't get a new job immediately. 1 in 4 gets a new job immediately post redundancy, but others, it's months or even years before they find another job. And throughout that period, staying positive, believing in yourself, and never giving up are absolutely key in terms of the mental attitude you need to carry you forward. The bitterness behind is another one that I would actually add to that. Stay on good terms with your previous employer, because the people that are there may come back into your life at a future point. In my own experience, the company that made me redundant became my biggest client for the first decade of my self-employment. So I think that's one way in which, just one way in which, a previous relationship becomes important. The other kinds of things I'd say that might or might not be obvious to people, the importance of networking. It's very easy when you've lost a job to just be looking at getting a like-for-like replacement. And so you look for other jobs in the same industry and in the same kind of role as the one you previously had. Networking with friends, people that you know you well, they will often suggest to you other things that you can do, other roles that you could usefully fulfill because they know you.
Okay.
And I think partly for that reason, networking with your professional contacts and people that know and trust you is really important in helping you get another job. The stats are that one person in every four finds their next job through networking, not through answering a job advert directly or going through a recruitment agency, but through networking. And those network contacts can recommend you for a job that you're suitable for, which might not have been, even in your mental image of yourself.
I couldn't be more agree with you. I came to UK from India just because of my networking. So I came here on a business trip, and my boss offered me a job in the UK.
Yes.
So I completely agree with you on that.
I think that the rigidity with which you view yourself as well is actually a major problem if you think of yourself too narrowly. Another fact from my book is that most people post-redundancy do not go back to more of the same. They do not go back to a job that's directly similar to the job that they lost.
Okay.
They go off in a new direction. And for that is part of the reason why most people ultimately have a very positive experience of redundancy. They look back and think, I'd not be doing that now if I hadn't been given the prompt to retrain for a new career or to go back to something I loved something I loved from my earlier career, or to start up my own business, or to do some to change the balance of my work-life balance and end up doing running a portfolio career, a little bit of this and a little bit of that, rather than just a full-time job. So I think these are important lessons for us all.
So it's interesting to me, like you talk about networking, but I think when you became redundant, I think you want to hide. A normal reaction to a normal person will be he don't want to show up in the public. He wants to hide. So what are the best way a person can network in that time?
Yes,
what do you recommend for that?
I think it's that what you've described is very common, but it's the extreme non-communicative end of the spectrum, and actually people who follow that, who don't talk to others, do worse out of redundancy. The stats say that they're less likely to bounce back quickly. They're less likely to be happy for several years, hence that they made a good change in their lives. Because there are some people who don't even admit it to their family or to their neighbours that they've lost their job. They turn down offers of help from Careers Advisory Service, and they don't seek out help from other people. They don't talk to other people and access their advice. They don't talk to recruitment consultants and see whether there's something else that they might be suited for. They shut down a little bit, and by shutting down, they shut off opportunity. Whereas the people who go to the other extreme, who do talk to others about it, who do access all the help that they can from other organisations, whether it be a trade union, whether it be a recruitment consultant, whether it be talking to what's now called the National Careers Service, which is free help for people who've been made redundant. People who do access all of that help and talk to others do better, because new ideas come to them, new opportunities come to them, even training opportunities come to them that they wouldn't otherwise.
They cannot actually get the help without they even try in the first place. I completely agree with that. And so let me give you a scenario where it happened with my friend 6-7 months ago, and he was basically, the company has to let him go for some reason. It was economic reason or something, and he still struggles with this, that he could not find a job till now. He asked people to help. He's looking for the opportunity. But for me, the real problem I see with him is that he do not approach to the right people. Or you can say he just living in his own small world that somebody will come to them and offer a job to him. So this kind of mindset, I understand from your description that it won't work.
It's less likely to work, and you can see why, because they're effective people who have that mindset, like your friend. They ultimately shut themselves off from some of the opportunities which might come their way. And I think if you have an adaptability, a flexibility, a versatility to your mindset and in terms of your mental image of what job you can do, you open up more opportunities. If you take too narrow a view, a rigid a view of what you're capable of doing, then you ultimately you lose the chance to be surprised at what you can do.
So then I have to ask you this: that how do you get courage to face people? How do you get motivated to do that when you are at that stage of life? Maybe I am feeling ashamed, I'm not good enough, I cannot provide for my family. So how do you get courage for that?
Okay, so the first thing we have to absolutely ditch is the idea that people being made redundant have any kind of stigma attached to them. It's the job that's gone, not you. It's not personal.
Yes,
the organisation that is making you redundant is facing business pressure. It may be the result of their own poor management, or it may be a result of the industry changing around them, or maybe that government regulation of their industry has changed in some way. It's not necessarily their fault, but it's certainly not your fault that you have been made redundant. So you must somehow snap yourself out of that, blaming yourself. And there is no shame attached to redundancy. It is remarkably common these days. Most of us are liable to be made redundant at some point in our career. So this is not something that is just about you. Now, I guess it helps if like me, you're made redundant at the same time as a lot of other people. Because that therefore doesn't make it feel, I know it wasn't down to me. It was a fact that my company was taken over by another company that immediately did a massive downsizing operation. Immediately tried to cut costs dramatically for the company that they'd acquired. And I left at the same time as a lot of friends of mine and a lot of the other senior managers, and therefore I knew it wasn't personal. And as I say, to the extent that I was able to maintain good relations and good contacts with the company that made me redundant, and they turned into the biggest client for my new business. Yes, I think it is so, where you get that mental attitude from is a very interesting question, Saurabh. I think you can help to get it by talking about your problem, your situation more openly with friends and relatives. And then they will share their stories with you. And you'll be surprised how common the experiences are. The more people you talk to, the more you suddenly realise how remarkably common your experience is. And you start accessing advice from those people who've been there before, who know how it feels, and who know how they got out of it. And that advice and perhaps some of the contacts that those people put you in contact with can be very valuable taking forward.
Gordon, I really love the vulnerability you are showing here, because for a lot of people it's not easy that they can come and speak about the problem they are facing. So I really appreciate that you are sharing this experience with me now. I would ask one more question on this, that you talk about mindset and you talk about stay positive, and it's hard in that moment when it happens, because whenever life hits you, it's very difficult for people to overcome that problem at that time. And you have offered some good tips about it, and an understanding that they don't blame themselves. But my question will be, in those moments, like because you have experienced this, what actually you have done, or what books you have read, or what kind of people you met that 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 helps you to overcome all those feelings and try to go out and do networking and apply job with enthusiasm.
Yes. Well, I'm a great believer that people help people. People help people in this life. And I also a great believer in the fact that things happen in life for a reason. And I think what is remarkable is how many people you will find who will be willing to help you along the way if you just ask for that help in the right way. For instance, when I'm starting up my own business, I knew nothing really about running my own business. I'd worked for large businesses, major corporates, international companies in my career. I hadn't worked on my own, and I didn't know the small business world. But from the coach who helped me at the time I was made redundant, through to the people that I was introduced to, who had done what I wanted to do, people who'd been successful at running their own business, they openly shared a lot of their secrets with me, a lot of their learning points with me, because I genuinely went out to talk to these people and ask them the secrets of their success. And if you are willing to listen and listen respectfully to other people's stories, you'll be amazed how much help flows from them. And I do believe that moving from working for a big company to working for myself, running my own small business, was the best career decision I ever took. But as I say, what I found out in researching this book is that most people look back on redundancy as the best thing that ever happened to them. It prompts them to do things they would never have thought of before. And ultimately, those things prove to be the right decision.
Okay, so that's very interesting to me. So I have to, first of all, thank you for this topic alone, redundancy. Now I want to move to the topic like career change. So as you said, that is very difficult for a person to change the career if he is in the job. If he become redundant, that time he have no option. He has nothing to lose, so he can try that option. But if a person is doing a job, how to get courage to do that? I believe that you also wrote a book about it.
Yes. Well, it's a spin-off book from the first book. My first book was called Overcoming Redundancy, which is about redundancy and your reaction to it.
Okay.
With tips for people who find themselves in that situation, either being made redundant or they're fearing that they're about to be made redundant. And the other book was called The Great Midlife Career Switch, and it was about people choosing to change careers midstream. And I think this is what prompted me to write that spin-off book was the fact that a lot of my friends, the people I spoke to, all seemed to be in midlife fed up with the career that they were in.
A lot of not even midlife, I see people are fed up.
So even younger people like you, Saurabh. So kind of thinking to themselves, is this it? Is this what I'm going to do for the rest of my life? I don't enjoy this job. I don't enjoy this career. And seeing in themselves also that they're capable of more, but sometimes not sure precisely what it is they want to do. And what I'd advise them to do is whilst still in that job, start doing your research on options, career options. Find out what you can about other careers that might appeal, other options that might appeal, the training you'd require, the kinds of pay you'd get, the kinds of working practices and experience, day-to-day experience you'd get in those jobs. And the best way of finding those things out is by speaking to people who are where you're trying to be, the people who are already in those jobs. Because you might find, and I think this is remarkably common, that you have an image of what another job would be like. It's not accurate, your mental image. and you speak to
Perception.
someone who is a teacher, or you speak to someone who is a social worker, you speak to someone who is an engineer, or you speak to someone who is a management consultant, you speak to different people about their different jobs, and you find out the pros and the cons. You find out what it really is like.
Mhm.
And they may shatter your illusions a little bit.
Yeah.
And you might think, actually, no, it probably isn't such an enjoyable job.
Yeah, it happened with me. I am turning to a mindset life coach now, so I can completely relate to it. Yeah.
I mean, this might be a flippant comment, but when I was young, I dreamt of being a professional footballer.
Okay.
Now, the thing that I now realise about being a professional footballer, I'm still open to offers, but the thing I now realise about being a professional footballer at the very top of their game is they spend a vast amount of time in captivity.
Okay.
They're on planes, they're in coaches, they're in hotels. They give up their free time to be captive to the club, effectively, and travel where the club needs to play. And a lot of their time is not spent with their family and their friends, or with the freedom that the rest of us have. It actually is quite a captive existence. And actually, unless you like a lot of plane travel, and you like a lot of coach travel, and you like long hours spent in hotels, then it's probably not as enjoyable a career as you think, as we think it must be, because we only see the 90 minutes on the pitch.
Exactly.
And there's all of that extra time when they're bored out of their tiny minds and stuck in hotels, and really not having the freedom that the rest of us have to go out and spend our free time in whatever we like.
So what advice you will give a person who is 40-year-old and he's thinking, is it the right time for me? It's too late. Can I do this? Can I make it out? Is it age a factor to do this, or what?
I think the first piece of advice is do that research. Try to talk to people who are in the job that you actually can envisage yourself being in, the job that you think might be the job for you. Talk to those people about what that job is really like. They'll often offer to introduce you to someone else who's in the same industry, in the same sort of position. And so you can actually speak to several people, not just one, who's in the job, and get the benefit of their knowledge. The other thing is to start using your professional network. And again, it's meeting up with people that you like, who like you, trust you, know you well. And just have lunch with them, have coffee with them, chat to them about what it is you're thinking of, the career change you're thinking of. Because again, they may know you and whether they see a fit between you and your aspiration. And that can be very useful for the insight it gives you as to whether or not that really would be a good job move for you. So that starts it all going whilst you're still employed. And I've known people, and I don't wish to put this out there as a suggestion, but I do know some people who will start a business in the background whilst still full-time employed with another business, just to try it out, just to see whether it's for them. So before you quit and start your own business, you can have got a sense of whether that business is going to be successful, and you have a more gradual transition. Of course, you might find the contract of employment with your employer, and I need to flag this up, precludes you from doing that, but you need to check that out. There is a case study, and I forget the name of the employer, but a Brazilian company which actually encouraged its managers to start up their own business on one day of the week, and it was a very progressive employer. And that employer took the view, let our managers test their management skills one day a week on running a business of their own, and if those businesses are successful, we'll invest in them. And so it seemed like a win-win. And sorry, I've forgotten the name of the company, but I think that kind of progressive thinking is to be applauded, because we tend, in this country, in the UK, we tend to regard employees
Yeah.
or businesses, you regard their employees as their captives, their sole concern.
Yeah.
And the world is not really like that. The world is a much more fluid place.
Yes.
And the loyalty between employer and employee is not absolute the way it used to be. It is really a much more fluid relationship. So why not recognise that, and why not be open to that?
Well, Gordon, thank you very much. I have learned a lot from you, and I'm sure that people who are watching this also will be really benefit with that. Guys, this is the book you must read. Not just when you become redundant, but even you have fears, even you are trying to switch your careers, even you have you need some motivation to basically push yourself and how you can start a new career. I think you should grab a copy of this. I will put the link into the description. But Gordon, do you provide some kind of coaching or help to the people who are looking for this kind of coaching?
Yes, I'm in a different place right now, Saurabh, from where I was, because this is another experience of life handing out different cards. 3 years ago, I had a major heart attack and had some quadruple bypass as a result of that. Now that's life dealt me a bit of a blow there. So I'm now only wanting to work part time, and I'm now on the cusp of retirement.
Okay.
But I do enjoy a little bit of coaching, doing a little bit of coaching and a bit of training. And so I'm based in the Milton Keynes area here in the UK, and I'm available for that kind of freelance activity.
So would you like to tell our reviewer where they can find you and how they can approach you if they want?
Absolutely. So my company is called MSC.
MSC.
So that stands for Marketing, Speaking and Coaching.
Okay.
And it offers marketing consultancy and coaching advice on coaching and help on things like public speaking and creative thinking. And as I say, it's based here in the UK, here in Milton Keynes in the UK, and your website is www.mscmarketingconsultancy.co.uk.
And I think you do Skype coaching as well, or just this one-to-one always?
I prefer one-to-one because I'm an old-fashioned kind of guy, and I do much prefer to meet people.
Okay.
I think I can do telephone coaching if required, but I would prefer to talk to people face to face.
So thank you very much, Gordon. Thank you for coming over.
Thank you.